right, loyal listeners, welcome back. May 1st, 2026. We have a gargantuan show today.
Happy May Day, David Lee Scales. And before we get into it, did you set up a maypole out in the front yard to prance around with your wife and young son?
No, do I still have time, or did it have to be set up this morning?
I think it's okay. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's a morning, afternoon, or evening regulation when it comes to the maypole. I feel you can dance the maypole any time of day.
Can you maybe get up and show me what the prance should look like so I know? Because I'm not sure I do now.
I think it's like this.
So it's what I saw in Midsummer.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. And you hold I think you hold the piece of satin that's tied to the top and you dance around and then you perform satanic rituals at some point thereafter. So maybe the maypole is an evening thing because I don't think that satanic rituals go well like, mid-afternoon.
In the daylight.
Yeah.
Is it much like the film Midsummer? Does somebody get impregnated and then burned in effigy at the end?
I think I'm assuming. I'm thinking that's what's supposed to happen on May Day. Yeah.
Okay, no, then I'm out. I was in up until then. Now the prance almost had me enticed, but now I am out entirely.
Oh man, May Day. I like that May Day really covers a lot. Like I think it is the Communist Day, right? I think May 1st was like the big USSR day. It's also May Day, start of spring. I guess that's just two things it is.
You know what? We've talked about this before. There's too many things to celebrate.
That's true.
I'm not adding it.
I'm focusing on the commies today, on the ex-US. That's why I'm wearing my red hat. For those who are just listening, I'm wearing a red hat. That is not a MAGA hat. It is the Beach Grits I Hate Surfing hat, but it's red like the USSR.
Bold choice.
Yeah.
Bold choice by choosing red for the merch, Beach Grit merch.
Yep. Gotta take it back. I don't know how we just like, even if you're a MAGA fan, right? Like giving a whole color to a group, it's not cool. I mean, I guess the commies had red too. So
red is always the color. Now that I think about it,
people are wanting red. Yeah, it's true. Not very many people go blue, or blue doesn't stick around the same way red does.
Nobody's ever chosen green, purple, yellow. Like there's tons of other options that just go completely ignored.
And except for the Gold Coast Pro, very much chose yellow. I've never seen more yellow in my entire life.
So you're actually watching it.
I knew we were going to talk about it, so I did not actually watch real time yesterday, but I caught up on the highlights today and mostly focused, to be quite frank, on Stephanie Gilmore.
Okay, well, we'll get into it then. We'll lead with it. Before we do, though, I would like to say on the Beach Grit Comment Live article, whoever chose the Tom Green photo as the header image for that article deserves to be fired from Beach Grit.
Oh, man, that was me. That was me. You're not a Tom Green fan.
I mean, when I was young and had fewer, brain cells, I chuckled occasionally at Tom Green, but that photo itself is disgusting.
It's, well, just you wait. I'm going to tease. There's another Tom Green photo coming today. And did you ever watch his film, Freddie Got Fingered?
I did, yeah. Also, we talk about film pretty regularly. That's one I should revisit.
I know, me too. So Tom Green, though, I think he was considered like a shock comic kind of thing, right? At this point in history, I think he's considered an absolute comedic genius.
I was going to say a complete imbecile.
No, I think he is considered he's like your favorite comic style guy. You know his story now, don't you?
Refresh my memory. I'm not sure if I know whatever you're thinking about.
He moved to a farm in Canada and he raises donkeys or mules or something. He's super into it. Or he doesn't raise them. I think he has a couple. He has a bunch of different animals, but like all farmy animals, and does farmy stuff.
Is he? That's a funny way to describe it. Is he still doing comedy?
I think so. I think he is out on the road or has another project. I heard him. I don't know. This is probably a couple years ago, but heard him on Joe Rogan, And Joe Rogan literally, I do believe, stole Tom Green. Tom Green should be. We really messed up. We got Joe Rogan instead of Tom Green. Joe Rogan went on Tom Green's show forever ago and was sitting there and like told Tom Green, "Hey, this is the future of like everything, right?" And so Tom Green or Rogan just took the idea of the Tom Green show, made it the Joe Rogan Experience, and went off to fame and fortune, leaving Tom Green in the dust.
I do remember seeing that. Take a wild guess at Tom Green's net worth. I just looked it up.
I'm gonna say 15 mil.
5 mil.
Yeah, see, he's good.
He's worse off than Ernest P. Worrell.
I know he is worse off than Ernest P. Worrell, but I feel good about that. He's one of us. I feel Tom Green stuck to his guns. Tom Green was always a wacky outlier, and yes, he married Drew Barrymore, but yes, they got divorced quickly. And then now he's doing farmy stuff in Canada, and he seems salt of the earth. He seems our people.
For anybody who thinks that I just pulled Ernest P. Worrell out of thin air, it was actually a direct reference callback from this week's earlier episode of Noble Rot, if you want to go hear that.
Know what I mean? Know what I mean, Vern?
Know what I mean? Also, okay, I've got so many thoughts on Tom Green now that we've unpacked this can of worms, can of Canadian worms. Him marrying Drew Barrymore and also David Arquette marrying, what's her name, Courtney Cox.
Yep.
Both shocked me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it fit with the idea that like, oh, women like if you can make them laugh. But I'm like, no, but those guys are so freaking, that's their only thing. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to run out of laughs in year 2. And then what else do you got? And also the things that make you laugh initially are the things that annoy you later. And of course, both those ended in divorce. So I've proven to be, my cynicism proved out. But those were shocking.
Don't tell the wife that, my wife that, please. Thankfully, she doesn't listen to the podcast, which is why we're probably still married. But also, the Tom Green Barrymore one shocked me, but that was more, I thought, Drew Barrymore sees the genius in Tom Green. And it's hard to marry a genius. Ask the wife. But that is what it is. It's volatile, right? At least David Arquette and Courtney Cox. David Arquette came from like an iconic acting family. And he didn't do a very good job of holding up his end of the iconicness of it. But I could see Courtney Cox saying, I'm marrying into the Kennedys here, kind of.
Were the parents famous?
Yeah, I think parents are famous actress. Obviously, Patricia. I think he was like lineage actor.
I know Patricia and Rosanna, like the siblings are, but I was unaware that there was a lineage.
I'm pretty sure the parents were like old timey, not 40s style, but however old he is. I saw David Arquette. Remember Bootsy Bellows, I think was his. Was it Bootsy Bellows? No. What was his club he started? Bootsy?
No clue.
Might have been Bootsy Bellows. Bootsy something. But was out one night in Hollywood. It's right after Yuri Patlochikov won gold medal in snowboard halfpipe and was in LA doing the media circuit. And so he wanted to go out, and I can't remember why the wife didn't go. She must have been tired or something else, had something. So me and Yuri headed out to Bootsy Bellows, David Arquette's club. And David Arquette came in at some point, and it was really small. It was like a tiny room. And David Arquette came in at some point and seemed, I gotta say, got a real good vibe off David Arquette. Like, had a few words with him. There was zero kind of, I don't know, like Hollywood big upping or anything. He was just like kind of slumped in the corner, but friendly, casual dude.
I could see, so with these comics like Ernest P. Worrell.
You're considering David Arquette a comic, though?
I guess he was never a comic. He was a comedic actor.
He was an actor, I feel, who played mostly comedic roles.
Yeah, so this fits with what I was going to say, which is like the Ernest P. Worrell, the Pee Wee Herman, the Tom Green. They create this character that ends up being like their persona that defines all of their work, and they're actually typecast in it. They can't get out of it. I feel like David Arquette was a moment away from that. Yeah. Like the character he played in Scream, he leaned into, but not quite hard enough to like cement it and then get a lifetime worth of work based on it. He just kind of like dabbled in it, but then never made a career out of it, really.
Exactly. It's funny that you bring this up because I had this very same thought just this morning. I was scrolling the news and saw that there is a new Martin Short doco coming out on
I saw
Netflix,
that
I
too.
think.
Yeah.
And the picture they used for the news thing was what was his Ed Grimley? Remember Ed Grimley,
No.
the character? It
No.
was, I think it's Ed Grimley. It's Martin Short's character with the pants are super pulled up and he has like his hair
Oh
pulled
yeah,
into
yeah,
a
yeah.
yeah. So somehow Martin Short dodged. He didn't get Pee Wee Herman with Ed Grimley, and I wonder if it's just because Ed Grimley wasn't as funny as Pee Wee, but because all the same elements are there, right? It
Yeah.
is a all of the same elements are there, and somehow Martin Short was allowed to go be Martin Short, and Paul Rubens had to be Pee Wee Herman.
Did Ed Grimley have a catchphrase? Because I think that's key.
I think for sure he did.
Okay.
We'll have to get to the bottom of it. But yeah,
Well,
I remember being amused by Ed Grimley as Ed. I think Martin Short was one of those ones as a kid where I'd watch Ed Grimley, I'd watch his other characters, and I'd get that it was funny, but it was like just barely over my head. Where even though Pee Wee Herman, I'm sure the OG Pee Wee Herman was not for kids, right? I'm sure that would have been over my head too. But the Pee Wee Herman I got was directly, it was Pee Wee's Playhouse. So it was smacking me right in my wheelhouse. I understood Pee Wee Herman is funny.
there was a film. The Ed Grimley character might have been the basis for the character of this film, where Martin Short, as an adult, played a child. I feel like his dad was like, I can't think of the actor's name. It was like the dad from Beethoven, and he was like a problem child who was like, it was like a Dennis the Menace type character, except he was an adult playing the child.
That's amazing. The concept makes me laugh. Yeah, when you say that, it makes me realize how much I appreciate Martin Short. Like, Martin Short has made me laugh lots. And I will also say, Martin Short has warmed my heart more than anyone else with his coupling with Meryl Streep.
Are they together?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I kind of thought
Yep.
he was gay. I thought
Nope. He and Meryl Streep are dating.
that is shocking.
I think they have been for a fair minute too.
I like it.
Yeah, to see, don't you? I think his Martin Short's daughter just died, so condolences to you, Martin Short.
Did he rub you as gay, or am
Martin
I
Short?
alone in that? Yeah.
Uh, it wouldn't have surprised me if he had been, but he, I don't know, he seemed like he was putting on the flamboyance in a way that was very, very theatrical.
But I've never even heard him associated with any female, like dating any female up until now.
Meryl
So I
Streep?
just kind of presumed like he was,
Yeah.
whatever, doing his own
Wow, so
thing.
that's got to be kind of a shocker to not only learn that Martin Short isn't gay, but that he's dating one of one of our century's most iconic actresses.
My mind is blown. I don't know where to go from here, but we're 13 minutes in and we haven't talked about surfing yet. So let's get back to it. Snapper ran day one yesterday, less than 24 hours ago. Number of storylines coming out of this, and a lot of them on the female side, actually kind of dominating the news. You mentioned Stephanie Gilmore. What exactly did you note about Stephanie?
I thought she looked fantastic, to be quite honest. I thought she looked smooth. She surfed the wave the way I like watching that wave surfed, I guess. And this is potatoes, potato. She was up against Aaron Brooks, and obviously Aaron's a goofy anyway. But just that like fast attack on that wave, juxtaposed directly, like that whack, 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 juxtaposed directly to the way Steph comes in, does that. It just, Stephanie, it just was like, and again, maybe this is all, maybe the kids are out, oh, why is this old person surfing so boring? But to me, it was just like, it was kind of like art in motion, to be quite, not to go over the top, but that's the way I felt.
Well, I narrowly dodged another survival league loss on the women's side. Are you still in on the women's league?
I am. I can't remember who I had, but I got through, and this time I put in Caitlin Sims.
Okay. So I initially, without even looking at the forecast or the draw, I just picked Aaron Brooks because I knew she had won an event out there before. And literally 1 hour, yesterday, 1 hour before the start, I'm like, I should look at the heat draw. And I look and it saw that she drew Stephanie. I also saw that they were in round one. There's other options that you can select that are already in round two, which give
Yep.
you a distinct advantage in Survival League. One of the options in round two was Molly Picklum, which just seemed like a no brainer to me.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
at the
maybe that's
last
what I
minute,
picked.
what?
Maybe I picked Molly. I can't remember.
Well,
I
at the
don't know.
last minute, I picked Molly, and so thankfully I did because Aaron Brooks lost. But I think that Aaron Brooks had beaten Stephanie the two other times that they surfed snapper. So Stephanie's actually the underdog, strangely, except for the fact that Stephanie surfed snapper more than anybody else on tour, I would presume, especially given how much older she is than anybody. She's won events out there, so she is, you know, aside from like her stats head to head with Aaron, she is absolutely a safe pick at
And
snapper,
I don't
and
know
I think
what
has it, and I think has it more dialed than anybody else.
I don't know what the conditions were those two times she lost, but yesterday's conditions, weren't like 100% perfect, but the wave was running
Yeah.
and it was like great. Like you could just tell Stephanie was in her happy place from the moment from that first wave she took off on.
Yeah, Steph, the waves were they varied throughout the day. It seemed like there was some weather, like some rain or something like that, but it was rippable throughout the day. Like there was
Yeah.
times where there was a little bit of wind, times where it was more barreling, but the swell was consistent throughout the day, and the waves are definitely rippable, contestable for sure.
And just the way I haven't seen it run that way in a while, and maybe I just haven't watched Snapper in a while, but where it was really running down the bank, even if it wasn't like barreling perfect, there was plenty of of steep face to work with.
It's just rippable
Yeah.
for a long way, you know?
Yeah.
So the other story coming out of the women's side is Carissa Moore narrowly beating Taya Zabrowski, 15-year-old Taya Zabrowski, and then crying her eyes out on the beach. And Taya then, by the way, Taya then consoling Carissa.
Why was Carissa crying? What was the word on that?
Relief.
Emotion?
She beat
Relief.
her with a buzzer beater. So Taya was she had been winning the heat for the majority of the heat, and at the last second, Carissa needed a marginal score. I think it was like a five something, and she got a high five. And then on the beach, her child, who's like 1 or 2 years old, baby still, is wearing a Carissa jersey, like a yellow Carissa
Oh,
jersey. Her husband's carrying the baby. The husband hands off the baby to Carissa. And so I think that all the emotion of the win and the family and the shift in life and her being back on tour was made it boil over.
I love it. I love Carissa Moore can do no wrong, including here, where I wonder if you go back on tour, if you're Carissa Moore, right? You've dominated how many championships? Should be eight, seven? Seven should be eight, I think. Five should be six.
I think it's five.
Five, but should be six because she got totally screwed thanks to Elo, Pooper Touch, Logan. In any case, if you come back on tour and you think, I've done this, I know what this is, and you compartmentalize a little bit how actually mentally tough it is and physically tough it is, and all of the, getting in a competitive mindset and being out there. And I wonder if standing on the beach in Snapper Rocks, if this is really going to be the start of Carissa Moore's campaign, if she's going to say, oof, okay, I'm in. I'm doing this. I'm doing
So
this. Kids wearing my yellow jersey. I'll be wearing it at the end.
I'm going to go out on a limb there. Get ready for the YouTube hatred in the comment section. I agree. Carissa is beyond critique or criticism. I love her as well. However, you can't cry after round one or round two. Like you, I guess she can. Maybe the difference is, maybe I'm wrong in that she can because she wears her heart on the sleeve every moment. But I think that in order to be, you know, I'm eating my own words as I'm trying to formulate my thoughts. I was going to say, in order to be a multi-time world champ, in order to win multiple events on tour, you have to have your eyes on the end goal at all times. And so you winning this heat was already a foregone conclusion in a winner's mind. You know what I mean?
Except for that's what I'm saying, though, specifically that is if she got back on tour, kind of not being so serious, like she, would have been serious. This is all theoretical here. Like I'm imagining she would have been serious to do it. Like she's not doing it flippantly. She gets back on tour. But that moment right there, she gets a buzzer beater win, kids on the beach, the emotion of what she's actually doing washes over her at that moment. And now she is set locked in, ready to go. Like if she was crying after every heat, say, from here on out, then I would say, Carissa, I love you, but this is getting a bit much. But I wonder if this was kind of almost a cathartic outpouring, what she needed, like, because she blew it in both Bells and Margaret, right?
No, I don't think she blew it.
Really?
I'll look up.
She's running first round here. That says to me she blew it.
That's a good point. I know Stephanie got last place in both those events, but let me check.
Exactly.
Let me check Carissa. She got a 5th place in the last event and then a 9th place at the previous.
Okay, so not blowing it at all. Not blowing it at all. Well, Carissa Moore, happy to see those tears, but maybe bottle them up now and focus on bashing younger opponents.
I think so. I think your take is actually right. I don't know that this will define whether or not she goes on a rampage or not, but I think one of the things that we've always appreciated about Carissa is that she does wear her heart on her sleeve in all moments. And this reflects that. Like, I don't think that she was planning on crying necessarily or planning to even be that emotional about this win early on, but she's gone through a really dramatic life change in the last 2 years. And so and if you're engaged in that life change in a meaningful way, and if you're earnest, then you are subject to the whims of your emotions.
Absolutely. I mean,
so it is what it is. And I don't think there's a way to really even compare it to a Gabriel Medina.
I wonder as well if Carissa Moore is in a real, being in the moment, being present mindset. And so, even realizing that she's getting to do this with her husband and child, where it's just a lot of emotion wax.
Yeah, I think so. And I got to be honest, when I saw it, I liked it. When I saw it, I was like, good for her and good for, like, this is good fan engagement stuff. This now draws me in to want to understand why she's crying, what were the scores, all of it sucked me in as a fan. And so I think good.
But again, Carissa, if I may give you, and I know you listen to me a lot for my words of advice, my word of advice to you, bottle it up from here on out. Like, that was your moment. Bottle it up until you are standing at Pipeline, champion of the world once more. Like, and then let it just flow again. But eye of the tiger from here on out.
Well, the good news is that doesn't matter too much, I don't think, with Carissa, because if you look at her surfing, it's also beyond reproach. Like, she was surfing incredibly well. And the surfing that I saw her do in the previous 2 events, I didn't watch, from beginning to end, but I did see some of her waves. I thought, man, she's back in peak form, like immediately. And I didn't feel that way with Steph up until this last snapper performance. So I think Carissa's surfing is still world class and has event winning potential, world champ winning potential. She just has to continue it.
I will tell you what, though, particularly with Steph, there was a moment of worry. It's funny watching people, not funny at all. It's sad, I suppose, watching people get older. There was a moment she went up for a floater and came down and it looked like she just absolutely buckled her knee. And I was like, oh, no, that's not, no.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I told you this. In Nicaragua a couple of weeks ago, I was real sore after 2 days of paddling and surfing, mainly in my neck, just from being kind of arched up. And then I ate crap on a wave and got like lipped in the head. And when it happened, as I was underwater, I heard my vertebrae crack, actual cracking. And I was like, oh no, this is going to be an injury. Like, I'm older. I'm not fit. I probably am pushing it too hard. Like, this is day 3. I'm pushing it. I'm not feeling, this is going to hurt. And then like that all happened in the course of 2 seconds in my head. And then I come up from the wave and I'm like, oh, I'm not injured. And I twist my neck. Felt fantastic. It was like a chiropractic adjustment that like fixed all of the soreness that I had felt the previous day or 2.
Thank you, Mother Nature. Mother Nature went to a wellness retreat and learned how to do chiropractic.
Within 5 seconds, I went from like, oh no, real fear that this could be a problem, to then like complete elation and relief.
how good is that feeling that washes over you when you realized that you dodged massive injury? The other day, I mean, this is just, we could have a whole new section called Old Man Talk. Uh, I was, I
That's
was,
actually the main conversation in the podcast regularly.
I mean, I guess the whole thing. I was sitting in bed on my computer, but legs straight,
Ooh,
for
dangerous,
like,
dangerous.
for like 30 minutes, right? And put the computer down, got up to, but then I remembered in Copenhagen when Dada was on the lap and I stood up and bust. So I stopped for a minute and felt my legs like I had no control. So I hurried up, sat back down. And it's like, if I would have taken a step there, I would have like blown out something so badly. The fact that I dodged that is like a whole new lease on life. But man, those need new leases on life more and more.
Even the idea of operating on your laptop in bed on your lap, I'm like, bad idea, dude. I know already. I gave that up years ago. I have to sit upright.
Yep, it's so true.
It's
Man,
brutal. And we're not like, we're in our 40s and we're not unfit. And this
no.
is still what we're dealing with.
Well, and I suppose that's why looking at Stephanie Gilmore, knowing that how many more drop from the lip do you have to the flats do you have in you? Hopefully more. Hopefully a lot more.
Well, yeah, did she land it?
No, she like buckled and like went under, and I was just like the way that her leg. I mean, it just looked like that buckling style, right? Where you're just
Yeah.
like, grrr. And I thought that's not feels bad.
When I was 19-ish, I remember Shea Lopez blowing out his knee on a backside floater at backdoor.
Yep, yep,
And I was always like, well, okay, good to know. You can get
yeah,
hurt doing that.
yeah.
One other story that I think is worth noting is just that the two surfers on tour from Chopu were surfing on their backhand at this wave that is exactly the opposite of Chopu, and they looked incredible.
I'm worried. I will say, I'm worried. I got Vahine coming up. If I chose, I can't remember who I chose, so maybe I'm not worried. But if I chose Caitlin Simmer, she comes up against Vahine in round 2, and man, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, really, I would never have pegged either of them. So Vahine and then on the men's side, Kaiuli Vost looked remarkable. It was like,
Yeah.
I didn't know they had it in them. So good on them. I think that shows a well-roundedness that was a question mark for me up until now. The other thing that Beach Grit actually wrote about was, quote, Brazilian surf community leader Jadson Andre blames adult learners for Margaret River Pro and Brolio. So actually this is coming out of Margaret River, not Snapper. But basically after George Pitar made his run through the Brazilian Storm to win the event, a bunch of surf fans, Brazilian surf fans, were claiming that the system is rigged to benefit white people, basically, non-Brazilian surfers. And Jadson Andre took to Instagram in a confessional video selfie and basically just said, you guys are crazy. That is not what's happening here. You don't understand the sport. You're not even surfers. I've been on tour, and I'm telling you, George Pitar deserved to win those heats.
I mean, even if there is, because there's always going to be a controversy here or there, and that controversy may or may not include a Brazilian. The fact that how many of the last 10 championships are Brazilian?
The majority.
I mean, vast majority, right? I think John
on the men's side for sure.
Yeah. So it's just a silly argument to make for Brazilians, and Brazil, a lot of them must not be surf fans, because I don't know how you could be a surf fan and realize that you have dominated at least 70%, I think. Last 10 years, only John has won, right? Besides a Brazilian.
Let's see.
Any Australians win in there?
Yeah, I think just John. You're right.
Yeah. So you have won basically everything except for John. How do you think the system is rigged?
Yeah, I know the stats definitely do not support the claim. But the funny thing is, I mean, Gabriel Medina himself has made this claim. Felipe Toledo has made this claim when they lose, that the system is rigged unfairly for the Brazilians. And I'm like, bro, especially with Gabriel Medina, like statistically, you win more heats than anybody. How can you make that claim?
But I wonder if it's Trumpian in a way, right? Is you just keep saying the system's rigged, and you put that into the minds of the judges too, who are like, we don't want to be rigged here, so let's bump in the back of mind, let's give Gabriel Medina 0.02 more than we would have given him otherwise.
If it's strategic from Gabriel Medina's stance, that would make sense.
I mean, I bet he's not very super aware of it, but I bet his competitive nature, deep down in the dark maypole of his competitive nature heart, he probably feels, if I'm always jibber jabbering about it being rigged, I'll get the benefit of that jibber jabber.
Yeah. And also, if you did everything you thought you needed to do to win that heat and you still didn't win that heat, you would try to find some rational explanation. And it seems like the nation state of Brazil does see things in terms of race.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's what you would rely on as an explanation. And by the way, that's a major question mark for me, is like, is there value in framing everything in terms of nationalistic identity and pride? And it seems that Brazilian surf fans seem to do this more than any other nation. And I know that I'm doing it right now just by claiming that Brazilians do this. I'm seeing things in terms of race, but there is more than a reasonable chance that the judges are calculating for a lot more variables than the surfer's country of origin. When they're watching Gabriel, when they're watching Felipe, the country of origin may be in their awareness, but they're calculating for so many other things. So if you as a fan are primarily using the country of origin as your main value index for these surfers, then you're overlooking the majority of those other variables, like the quality of their surfing, or maybe their personality or their style or whatever else. And in fact, that could actually be defined as being racist because you're holding the country of origin over everything else.
I mean, and again, this is all very anecdotal and personal, but kind of growing up watching professional surfing, right? Like, I knew everybody had either Australian or fans of Australian surfers, Americans, Australians were fans of Kelly Slater and America. Like, it didn't seem to, you were a fan of surfing. The nationality didn't come into it much. And I get how Brazil, plucky, coming off the bottom, arriving on the stage, dominating, right? Like how they have underdog mentality, that it's just a different kind of lens. And even the lens of surfing is a privileged white person thing. And we busted down the door as a, not as wealthy, even though we're super wealthy, South American nation. We pushed our way in here and we're proud about that.
Well, so you're saying that when you grew up, you did not have any nationalistic pride?
I don't feel like I cared at all about an American. I cared about I liked surfers.
Correct.
I liked, Tom Curran. I liked, which Aussie surfers did I like? I can't remember back then. I didn't like any Aussie surfers back then, not because they were Australian. I just wasn't a huge Aki. Aki was short and little, and I was tall and lean.
Well, what about a little bit later when Mick Fanning and Joel Parkinson and Dingo come on the scene? Do you have any pushback based on their nationality?
Zero. Did you?
Yeah. No, not at all. Like I had zero, and not only did I not have pushback against other nations, I didn't even like American surfers better than. There was no nationalistic pride that I had for California surfers.
Did it annoy you then? Let's follow this thread a little further. Did it annoy you when it was Dingo, Mick, and Joel all like, yeah, Mad Dog Aussie, yeah. Like when they really were Mad Dog Aussies?
Not at all. But I think there is a comparison to be made between the busting down the door era, so the 70s era Australian surfers, because they defined themselves as nationalistic and different then, and they were coming in as a crew. And I feel like the Brazilian surfers have done that as well. And so although I didn't ever have any nationalistic pride nor opposition to other surfers from other nations in the first 10 or 20 years of my surf fandom, when the Brazilian Storm came in with that attitude of seeing themselves as different, I think I then did see them as different. They kind of created a color boundary, let's say, and more a cultural boundary than a color boundary. But by the sheer nature of them entering the professional surf space with that kind of mentality, it forced it upon me to then see them as different. And I think that's what the Australians did in the 70s as well. And it created a lot of backlash. And then the American surf media was less likely to publish photos of them and all that sort of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But I think that also if you are a Brazilian surfer, right, and you have been, you don't have the means and the whatever. You're not part of this. And the surf industry then, more or less ignoring you except for your local kind of surf industry. But it's not like Quicksilver and Billabong are down there doing big campaigns, right? Or spending big money. And so you, as a Brazilian surfer or Brazilian surf fan, by the very pluck and hard work and nature, you come in and not only do you enter the conversation, you dominate, right? And so I imagine there's a amount of both cultural pride and you guys, like, I tip my red cap to you. You guys, you guys, you guys did come in and dominate. It's annoying now, the narrative, because you have dominated, you have proven yourself, right? You don't need to go. It's not a racist rigging to keep you guys away. It's you guys rule. There's nothing else I could say.
Look, I totally understand what you're saying, and I have no experience. I come from a very different perspective and a more privileged perspective in those terms. So I can't put myself in that mindset and say that I would have acted any differently. But there was a comment on this article in the Beach Grit comments section that said a Brazilian surf fan would worship a coconut that washed ashore if it was painted with a Brazilian flag logo on it. And I was like, obviously that's a joke, but I think that I was like, man, that is very hindering to your own growth, to your own understanding of the sport, to your own enjoyment as a fan of the other performances of everybody else. So it's just like there's a lot of hindrance in that. If that nationalistic pride supersedes all other measures and indexes.
But what if, though, for them, it's like fully, that's the fun part of being a fan. It's not fun to be a fan, to be sitting back and golf clapping different various surfers. It's fun to paint your face red, yellow. I'm sorry, not red at all. Green, yellow, and blue. And then that's not only for surfing, that's for your soccer team too, right? You're going to go like where sporting nationalism is. That's why you do it in Brazil, maybe. That's what makes it fun. If you're back observing as I'm just being a little critique here. This is fine surfing, young men. If that's not the fun part is being nationalistically rabid.
I think that is the lowest form of fandom. If you have so little understanding of the sport itself that is the only thing that you worship, then that is your you have a very shallow understanding of everything else.
But what if, though, that is just from the straight Caucasian Western perspective, right? For them, they're like, what are you talking about? What you're missing out on is the passion, is this feeling that I get when my, Mateus Hurdy takes down. Who did Mateus Hurdy take down?
Jordy? No. Was it Jordy? No.
No, whoever it was. It was round one, so it wouldn't have been Jordy. But I think it was Mateus Hurdy. In any case, the feeling I get from that, you will never know. You're sitting back and thinking you're appreciating the art of this, where it's apples and oranges.
I'm okay with that. I think that's totally fine by me if we have that disagreement. He took out Reef Hazelwood.
I mean, you and I, Reef Hazelwood. Yeah, there we go. But you and I will never be, I'm not a wild flag waving patriotic American either, right? Like, it's just not my constitution. I wasn't kind of born under, I was born in 1976, making me a bicentennial baby. I should have been all red, white, and blue. But, I grew up listening to punk music and stuff at some point, and I just wasn't about flag and country for me when I got older. And it maybe that in Brazil, it is that for them.
Maybe it is. Again, it could be the definition of racism.
That there,
if you only see things in terms of, and you value more than anything else, the nation state.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be racism at that point. It's what? Because it's not race. It is,
Patriotism.
I guess so. Your countrymen.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. I got one more thing to say about this event. It comes from a listener call, which I will spoiler alert found to be very astute. So let's hear it.
Hey, some tour talk here from Chris in Florida. Just a little observation about Gabe Medina, who's on fire and looks in just excellent form this year. The one thing I thought that's different is he doesn't have a main sponsor anymore. And maybe that's freed him up to just, I don't know, do his best surfing finally right off the jump. No more rip curl. If you think about it, Bell's first event of the year, big rip curl town, blah, blah, blah. Autograph signing, media, he's probably getting pulled in every direction. That's all out the door now. It's just Gabe running his own program. No team manager. I know he has other sponsors, but no more main sponsor. That's like the one thing that kind of hit me with his red hot start this year. I don't know. Just an observation. Anyway, cheers, boys. Yeah.
Clearly, Gabriel Medina has a lot of talent and a bunch of other things that you could point to his wins and his success with that have nothing to do with the main sponsor. But I do think that this identifies a shift in professional surfing. And I think that main sponsors had a lot of value and could provide value for the athlete, certainly in terms of paycheck, but support in other ways as well. Gabriel Medina has obviously ascended beyond that to where he has enough money and access to all of those things that there isn't as much value for a main sponsor. So now I think we're seeing the flipping of that script where partnerships can be problematic. Like the versions of them being good or where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts are actually pretty rare, where it's like both the athlete and the brand elevate one another and make them greater. That is kind of rare. And I think a lot of times one person is getting short shrift in the exchange. But the idea of being able to go surf on your own terms without a boss, without an expectation, without an autograph signing that you have to go to for 3 hours afterwards, any of that stuff is actually remarkable. Like that's a good shift.
Well, and I wonder what Medina's longer game here too is, right? Like if he was heading into this season knowing he doesn't have a main sponsor, knowing likely that I can't imagine that he couldn't have gotten a main sponsor.
Totally.
Yeah, and maybe, for not the value that he thought he was worth or whatever. But in any case, if he goes into this season saying, I'm betting on myself, and so I'm going to come out and dominate and show everybody, and then we'll see what we do next season. And or if the surf industry model is broken to the point where like even having a Gabriel Medina, if you're a surf brand, doesn't do much for you. And for Gabriel Medina, having a surf sponsor doesn't do much for you. Like if he is better off, especially him, getting one-off kind of NIL deals in Brazil for X amount. And this is, you brought this up before, and I've seen this work out looking over the wife's shoulder, and it often doesn't work out. You have to be a kind of transcendent athlete in order to string together enough one-off deals. But then also when you're doing a bunch of those one-off deals, now you're working twice as much, right? Because each one of those clients expects to be serviced uniquely. And so if you're doing a bunch of one-offs, it's not just, okay, these are the expectations that I have to fulfill for the brand this year. It's every one you sign has a new expectation.
What's NIL?
Name, image, likeness.
Gotcha. So yes, the industry model the previous model is broken in terms of Gabriel Medina knows that he's worth, let's say, $6 million a year to a mainstream sponsor. For Rip Curl, it is not worth it to pay him $6 million in exchange. But Gabriel Medina knows if I align with the way that old model worked was if I align with Rip Curl, it limits me from the other deals that I could do. I can't work with any other clothing brands, probably can't work with wetsuit brands. It's going to limit the other income that I can make. So then, and because Rip Curl says this isn't worth it for us, they're like, well, we're only going to pay you 3 million or 4 million or whatever it is. And Gabriel can look at the other contracts and say, I could cobble together a $6 million a year with these other deals. So I think that's the moment that they're at. The whether or not the NIL deals that you're talking about are more work because you're managing individual relationships or not, I think depends on the brand. Because I know I spoke to Garrett McNamara about some of the deals that he's done. He's sponsored by Mercedes. He's sponsored by Thule that puts the car racks on. He goes, the Thule thing, it was a 2-day shoot. And they got enough imagery for their campaigns to use for the rest of the year. You know?
Yeah, totally. But like for most, or not most, I won't speak proprietarily here, but you know, oftentimes you have like 10 days a year that the athlete is, you know, that's what you have to fulfill. You get 10 days a year from the brand. If you're doing that for one-off things like Thule, that's 2 days, but you need 10 of those to, you know, fit. And the 2 days is short. Now you're talking 30, 40 days a year of work.
Yeah, but the Rip Curl, the way that the original industry model was based, Rip Curl is your full-time employer, basically, if they're your mainstream sponsor. So it's a lot more than that.
But it's not. It's the days that you have to commit as an athlete are not it's not very much. It's like shockingly few.
Every word that comes out of your mouth, every post on Instagram, every action that you take is a reflection of them.
It's true, except for the burden is not that great, and especially the burden for Gabriel Medina. Like it would be I don't think that he chose to leave Rip Curl to do less work if he's wanting to make more money. And maybe he's just over it all. Maybe he's like, shoot, I got enough money. I literally have enough money. I have businesses in Brazil that are making passive income. I have my investments. I can go surf on tour without this pressure. And maybe that's what he wants. Well, he's not actually chasing money.
I think to the point that I was just trying to make about like every word that you post that you make, every word that you say has to be aligned with the Rip Curl kind of brand identity if they're your main term sponsor. With the one-off sponsors, you're able to move from day to day with freedom and making your own decisions. And when you engage in that deal, while you're doing that deal, of course, you want to be aligned with them. But I think you just have a lot more latitude and mobility to live your life the way that you want to live it.
I disagree. I think you're way more, you're stuck when you're cobbling together, or you're way more at the mercy of both market factors. And then also, you know, now you're aligning like 3 or 4 brands that do all their values match up. Like the mental gymnastics of that, unless you've got a great manager who's just doing the deals for you and then saying, Gabe, show up here, wave at the camera, sitting in this truck, half day work, you shave your armpit, half day work, you know, $1 million. And yeah, Gabe can just pop without thinking about any of it, with just like popping from thing to thing, showing up, doing the work, getting the paycheck.
That's the only way to do it would be obviously to have a management team.
Yeah.
Doing all that legwork. Well, moving on slightly, but I think somewhat related, maybe tangentially. True Grit or clickbait stuff. Quote, actress Emily Blunt smacked for telling women who hate their jobs to quit and become surf journalists. Is that a direct quote?
I should have said surf journalists, etc. Things that are lovable to do but don't pay any money. Poor Emily Blunt got rolled, though.
So what did she say, and did she actually reference surfing at all?
She did not whatsoever. She was on a podcast, I think, and the person asked her, or maybe it was like a junket something. I think she was with Stanley Tucci. Maybe it was just her and Stanley Tucci, for all I know. In any case, she was asked.
Devil Wears Prada.
Devil Wears Prada. She was asked, you know, what should people who don't love their job, or women who don't love their job do? And she initially laughed and said quit, and then provided more context in saying, you know, you find something to do that you love. And if you love what you do, even if you're not getting paid for it very much or anything at all, then, you know, you're still doing what you love, kind of thing. And then got lightly slammed in the YouTube comments of easy for somebody with $80 million to say, et cetera, et cetera. You can know where that goes. But just the idea I thought was funny, and wanting to posit it in this, I think kind of extra tense economic climate that we live in. We got AI coming for all of our jobs. I read today that now you've read dead internet theory before, right?
Yes.
So I think we're at actual 17% dead internet now, where that is 17% of the internet is being written by AI, basically for AI to consume. And that's going to speed up and all this kind of stuff, right? So the idea of do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. I wonder how that notion sits today.
Or if it's even feasible in practical terms moving forward at all.
Exactly. I mean, if we are destined at the end to get tubes stuck in our brain and thrown into the matrix so AI can suck off our thoughts, and that's it. That's where we're all headed. So I guess maybe try to have fun till you get there.
What were your thoughts? Did you feel like Emily deserved the roasting that she got?
Absolutely not. I feel at this point, like people will say, casually say cliches kind of. And then, everybody's there ready to be personally offended. And the amount of personal offense, I guess we could tie this all the way back to Brazilian nationalism. I guess for some people that feels good, right? Like for a Brazilian surf fan to paint their face and rah, 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 and think that there's a conspiracy against Brazil, that gives them, that riles them up. And for those people on the internet perpetually mad at celebrities or whoever for saying even the gentlest of things, and to be able to, I have my voice too. I'm going to get on and say, Emily Blunt, you are ...
Yeah. It's what she said is championed if somebody else would have said it. Everybody who heard her say that actually agrees with it and probably believes in the sentiment. But the fact that Emily and her husband have an $80 million net worth allows them something to point to criticize. But I totally agree with what she said. And I feel like we've said that exact statement here before.
I mean, it's hard out there, right? But yeah, like I doing what we do, and it doesn't pay very well at all, and I need to figure out better ways to make money. But it is what it is.
Yeah, and I also think that I like that Emily still feels that way despite having $80 million. You know what I mean? Like, because that is the mentality of a broke artist, and you could look at it through the lens of she's still living with the same mentality of a broke artist despite having become a rich artist.
Yeah, I mean, if she has $80 million, allegedly, I don't know. I mean, that's what the figure that was dropped into the article. If she has $80 million and she's still acting, I mean, she's acting because she loves to act. She's not necessarily acting because of the paycheck. Exactly. Back to Gabriel Medina. Maybe Medina has had the same Emily Blunt thought and said, you know what? I'm just going to do what I love and purposefully not get paid for it.
I would venture a guess that doing what he loves is being a celebrity. His passion is to be lauded by,
I wonder how famous Gabriel Medina is in Brazil. I know he has like millions upon millions of Instagram followers. He has by far the most number of Instagram followers, right?
Oh, yeah. I'll look it up.
Yeah, so what level of celebrity is, and if you're a dear Brazilian listener, sorry this show is not in Portuguese, but feel free to call in, and I would like to know a comparison. Like, is Gabriel Medina a Tom Brady in America? Is Gabriel Medina a, Logan Paul? Or is he a Jake Paul? Or is he not even, known in the average Brazilian house? Like because I have zero idea what his relative celebrity is in Brazil.
It's a great question. And I bet you could just not wait for that call and use Instagram as a metric. He has 13 million followers. You could find an American with 13 million followers, and that would be your comparison.
You think so, though?
Yeah.
Okay, what is the Brazil and U.S. relatively close population? Because you'd have to bump up. His percentage would be greater at that point.
I don't know, but for reference, a different reference point, I looked up Neymar, knowing that they're best friends, and Neymar is an actual like Kardashian level celebrity in Brazil. Neymar has 235 million compared to
Okay,
Gabriel's
so
13.
okay, great. So Gabriel, that makes me think, but also Neymar is pulling international fans to his Instagram as well, where,
So is Gabriel.
but not as many, I don't think.
No, I mean there are surf fans, so it's a small number.
Yeah, but I would imagine that I would imagine the vast majority of Gabriel's followers are Brazilian, whereas a plurality of Neymar's might be Brazilian.
Final thought on the sponsor list, the idea of the professional surf space transitioning away from long-term partnerships with brand and athlete. I think it is a good move, and being able to operate in just out of your own kind of without factoring in a partner's interest as an athlete, being able to surf to your own whatever talent level and explore your own creativity without considering a partner's objectives and interests, I think is kind of a good general move.
What if though Florence went out and sponsored Gabriel Medina?
There would be expectation for Gabriel Medina for the brand, and I think that that is a hindrance.
What if Florence signed Gabriel Medina and then went and threw him in the gnarliest slabs that Nathan Florence could find?
They're not going to throw him. He's not going to allow them to throw him anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, he's past that point. And I get what you're saying is like, will they create some sort of path for Gabriel that he wouldn't have created on his own? But again, he's beyond that. He's going to do what he's going to do no matter what.
Well, yeah, I hope the other surfers can look at him and say, we're not going to get paid in the very near future either, so be like Gabe.
Exactly. Well, speaking of brand affiliations, Vaer is our timekeeping partner here on the show. Look at them go. I just got a DM from somebody who used our promo code to save 15%. It happened while we were on this show. I saw the DM come through. They got a G2 Polar GMT 42 millimeter. There you go.
Can't go wrong. Cannot go wrong.
Save 15% with VayerWatches.com/surfsplendor. Of course, last week we got a call with somebody at the beginning of the call saying, thanks for introducing me. Love the brand. So yeah, big fans, and we appreciate them supporting the work. And we have listeners who give us the Vaer tools to live by, and we got one here today, Chaz. I think this is also kind of a tale as old as time. So this will be evergreen advice for whenever you listen to the show. Long lasting. DLS and Charlie, like many of us native Californians, I have inevitably befriended many blow-ins in our little NorCal surfing community. Almost all of them are also adult learners. My question is there any point in trying to help these Vals in selecting appropriate surf equipment? Or is it best to just let them continue to make poor decisions? I have one friend over 40 years old in particular who is enamored with boards that he literally cannot surf. Mid-lengths, fish, eggs, etc. All way too short for him to paddle or get to his feet. Like many lifelong intermediates, I started at a young age on my dad's longboards and surfed them for years until I was competent enough to start sizing down. It frustrates me to no end to see adult learners who feel that they should skip the formative years and hop onto a weird, smaller alternative shape. Alas, my friends are often so hard-headed that they don't listen. Is it best to let your kook friends continue to be kooks, or should I keep fighting the good fight and let these poor souls get these poor souls into the logs that they would actually have a chance on? Let me know your thoughts. Workin', Jonah.
Jonah, thank you, as always. Insightful, important, necessary for our time. I think what you have to do is first, okay, so get your kook friends off a Wavestorm no matter what, because this is giving back to the board building community. So that's if your kook friend is on a Wavestorm, then get them onto a shaped board from a local shaper or from, a reputable surfboard shaping house, right?
Yeah.
Number one. Second, you have to assess now. So the guy riding the fish mid-length, too short for him shape, you have to do a calculation. You have to run a calculation for all of these guys. Will staying on that board make them quit? Like, will they, if they're on this for a year and then quit surfing forever, and you got to run that mental calculation, then don't help. Just say, yeah, have fun. I hope you're having fun. Maybe, even like seed a little bad advice. Oh man, I just got a thruster. It's so sick. It's like a new CI Pro. Works really good. But if you sense in them, if you think this person is stubborn, this person surfing is not a passing fad for them. They have discovered their passion. They have discovered their lifestyle. They have discovered everything they want to do. Then I think you guide them to the log. But then also, while you're doing that, guide them to log spots and then stop there.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a multi-layers to the answer, but really they land in two lanes. Do you want to get them, do you want to free up waves for yourself, or do you want to actually get them to have fun? So if you want to free up waves for yourself, the advice that we should be giving is keep them on shortboards.
Go shorter.
Go shorter. Get the thinnest, shortest, high performance, whatever Ethan Ewing picks in Stab in the Dark this year, talk him into that. And tell him just to watch that and try to surf like that.
Totally. Say this is because that is that's what I did as a kid, basically. I watched Kelly Slater surf, and then I got what Kelly Slater was riding and tried to surf like Kelly Slater. Obviously, the worst thing anyone can do, but it's also a logical, like it makes sense logically.
Yeah, of course. So that's what the advice, we should be doing all of our comrades a PSA right now by blasting that information out to the audience. Shift most people on to boards that they can't paddle or catch waves on, thereby giving me more set waves.
Yes.
Okay. Done with that. Now, for your actual friends who you want to have a good time surfing, another, I guess I could deviate now into two other angles here. Do they want advice? Like, from my experience, most people don't ask for advice, don't want advice. And so if you are foisting advice upon them, you're also not going to get anywhere. So now let's go down the final path, which is a friend saying, I'm not getting as many waves as I want. And when I get up and riding on my shortboard, I'm not quite able to surf the way that I want. You've been surfing for 30 years. Do you have a recommendation? Now you're entitled to give them the recommendation. And almost inevitably, my recommendation would be longer board, more foam. Now, the funny thing is, he said that his 40-year-old friend literally cannot surf the mid-lengths or the fish or the eggs. I'm like, the mid-length and the fish is designed for the novice surfer. Like, if that's not long enough for this guy and he has to go to a longboard instead, wow, he is very much a beginner. Because to me, the mid-length is kind of the cure-all. Like the mid-length, if you've learned how to get up and riding and going down the line, you'll have fun on a mid-length. If you are a 20-plus year surfer who's aged out of or maybe gotten too heavy to ride a pointy thruster, the mid-length's also the solution. Like the mid-length turns, catches waves, goes fast, surfs any variety of surf.
I'm saying, I think what Noah's saying though is even if friend dabbled maybe at the longboard, nobody's doing the Chandler advice. Rick Kane had to spend at least part of one summer, maybe 5 days on a longboard before he went up to, how long was Rick Kane in? Was it just a summer that he was?
Dude, I haven't seen the movie in 30 years, surprisingly. Like, I should watch it more often.
It couldn't have been summer either. It had to have been a winter on the North Shore, right? In any case, whatever. But going back and realizing too, if a mid-length is not enough foam for him, and Noah is seeing that, Noah's looking and saying,
Jonah.
I see you, Jonah. Jonah sees him getting up to a knee and wobbling, and off he goes, right? If you really like him. But also the bonus here is that if you get him on a local shaped longboard, what do longboards go for these days? They're like $2,000, right?
Yeah, 1,200 to $2,000.
Yeah, you're really pumping some, you're doing a solid for the local build board building community at that point.
Yeah, I want fewer longboards in the lineup, full stop. So I'm apprehensive to go that way.
I
But
hear
I
you.
really do.
I hear you. I mean, I do too. Like that's the other thing on this one. You got to really point him to, hey, go surf the dribbly wave. You don't paddle this longboard out at any real wave.
Yeah. My final advice is that the vast swath of surfers on the planet should just be riding mid-lengths. Like, I hate to say it, and I hate to admit that advice applies to me as well. Anytime I'm trying to level up to any of these shorter boards that are behind me, I rarely ever hit my potential on them. I rarely ever surf them to the degree that I think that I can in my head, or that I might have been able to when I was 25 years old. And on that day that I'd made that choice to ride that board, if I was on a mid-length, I would have gotten more waves and had a lot more fun.
I will say though, not just a mid-length. I'm going to say foam, more foam, because also on the Mini Super, right? Like that's a little fella, but it's like as much foam as in a longboard.
Yeah, look, we could get into the weeds and really dissect and discuss. I was having this conversation with Mike at Weekend Vans down in Nicaragua. He also with our listener trip, and there was a surfboard shaper on that trip named Nick Ferreira, who's he's San Diegan, and his label is called Rome Surfboards. Great shaper, phenomenal surfer. And Mike was like, hey man, we've had a blast on this trip. You're surfing great. I would love to get one of your boards. Like when we get back to San Diego, let's surf together. We'll talk, figure it out. And Nick's like, just get a fish. And Mike's like, no. Like, let's go spend some time. I'll come by. We'll talk about it in the shaping bay. Nick's like, just get a fish. Like get a fish. It's a cure all. You know what I mean? Like anybody can ride it. Anybody will have a blast on it. You'll catch more waves on it. And so I could be talked into the Mini Super from Shay or the fish from Nick or a couple of different things, but they all kind of service the same thing. The difference with the mid-length is it's twice as much foam as the Mini Super or the fish, so you amplify the wave catching.
That's true, except you do need, I feel, decent surf to have fun on a mid-length. Like, I have a lot of fun on waist-high waves on the Mini Soup, where I don't have that much fun on a mid, right? Because a mid, Devin Howard taught me, you need face for a mid to work.
Because of more board, if you're going to do a turn, you need more surface area on the wave to do a turn. So on a knee-high wave, you're not going to be able to turn a mid-length very much. But yeah, so maybe you're right in that condition, but you'll still catch plenty of waves on the mid-length. And I don't know, for the vast swath of surfers out there, how much turning they're actually doing.
And also, real quick, just to get back to the most important PSA part of this tool to live by, it's encourage 80% of your kook friends to get on potato chip thrusters.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I like it.
I mean, that's like because we really spent a lot of time talking about the 20%, right? 80% need to be on these. Yeah, exactly. And that's you. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Whatever Ethan Ewing picks, you tell them to pick that, and you tell them to watch Ethan Ewing as to how to surf that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you send them on their way. You have I'm giving you the whole. This is the best, one of the best surfers in the world. He clearly chose one of the best boards in the world. Now get that board and watch him surf and surf like him. Off you go. Shoo.
Totally. Thank you, Jonah. Thank you, Vaer. VaerWatches.com/surfsplendor. I told you I had a gargantuan show today. Do we dare do a pros in the wild before we go to commercial break?
I think you teased the gargantuanness of it. If we teased gargantuan and just gave a normal sized show, I think we would be untrustworthy at that point. I think our trust we are very trustworthy right now. That would erode it.
Fair enough. Don't have to tell me twice. Here we go. This one comes from a listener call.
Hey guys, got a pro in the wild of a sort for you. It's Taylor in Northern California here. First, little background. I've got a photo of my late father, laying in a hammock. We're beach camping in Santa Cruz, reading the September 1988 issue of Surfing Magazine. So I kind of wanted to find a copy of that issue. I didn't have it anymore, capture a little bit of that nostalgia. So I checked stuff like eBay, and some dude's got a copy of it up there for like $30. This is not a $30 issue, and he's not exactly taking reasonable offers on it. So, all right, dude, enjoy your $30 magazine. On a whim, I shared that picture of my dad on the Vintage Surfboard Collectors group on Facebook, just in case somebody might have a copy they'd be willing to part with for a decent price. Now, most people chimed in, wishing me luck, asking if my dad was John Severson. I guess they kind of look alike or something. But then Peter Townend commented that he was pretty sure he had a spare copy in his collection. Sorry, Peter frickin' Townend? Like, 1976 surf champ Peter Townend responded to something I posted on Facebook. That's wild to me, just utterly wild. Not only that, but he didn't want anything for it. He just is giving me that issue out of his kindness. What a legend. So fast forward a few days, and he comments a picture of himself with the issue at his storage unit. He's definitely got it. And I'm floored, man. I'm nobody. I'm just a dude trying to capture the vibe. And he is just like, here you go. Have it. Drop me your address. I'll send it to you. Not even asking for shipping. I don't know, man. That just made my month, man. This is so cool. So just this morning, April 29th, the issue arrived. It is in my hands. The legend came through. And man, I am beyond stoked. The kindness of some people in the surf community is unmatched. I am at a loss for words, but I wanted to share the stoke. Yeah, check the email. I've got some pictures to illustrate things. And yeah, thanks so much. Shred on.
All right, PT.
I love this so much. Warms the heart, and you know, we really have. We've gotten this kinder, gentler show these days from our decade ago when it was just vitriol and rage, and now it's just good feelings. But he is exactly right. There's this folk like PT or Sean Thompson, or I mean, it's just surfing is chock full of wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. Weirdly, you would think that all the selfishness and all of everything we talk about on the show, that they are all like, there is so many wonderfully kind to the deepest part of their hearts. PT, very much one of them.
Absolutely. And I think, look, that kindness, we are beneficiaries of all the time. We talk about it all the time, even. So even though we might have critiques and cynicism laced throughout, the bedrock is the kindness. And I couldn't agree more with any of that you just said. Also, I'm, side note, surprised how much Facebook has come back into our lives. I feel like everybody got off of it, but like these groups that he's talking about, like, or even the idea of him like posting this photo in the group, I would never have thought of doing 5 years ago, but I hear so much community developing on that platform.
I need to hop back. Like, I have my Facebook like everybody else, but like I thought everybody else, right? Like, I'll go on every once in a while. I'll use it to, you know, whatever. Like, but sometimes I'll engage when I'll get back on. But the daughter, she's on stinking Facebook Marketplace like all the time. And then when you're on Facebook Marketplace, that means you like start going into Facebook and she's 13, right? And I know she's not alone here. So I think it really is, oddly, while stinking Zuckerberg and everybody's firing everyone and spending all their money on AI, it feels like where the movement is happening is to almost the analog version of what he built.
It's really crazy. We actually made a purchase yesterday from Facebook Marketplace that I never saw myself doing. And it was a great transaction. Like, the dude was super cool. Like, it went really
like
well.
Personal.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not like dealing with the robot. Like, it's some person who owns this thing that you want, that you're getting used, 9 times out of 10, probably. You make a personal connection with them. You either have, figure out how to get it shipped or picked up. Like, I mean, and this PT, what was the caller? Did the caller leave name?
I don't think he did.
Well, dear caller and PT, right? He had, because of Facebook, he got to have a personal interaction with Peter.
Yep, exactly. Well, that's the other thing. Back when I did use Facebook, 8 years ago maybe is when I kind of stopped using it. I was shocked at him or Ian Cairns. There was like
Yeah,
Derek Hind. There was like this certain segment of professional surf celebrity who was very active and very accessible on the
yeah,
platform that made me feel exactly like the listener, like special. I was like, oh my gosh, they're replying to me. But it's like to them, they have this golden era in their life and they're able to reconnect with fans throughout the world who appreciated that golden era that they,
completely.
that they
Yeah, I mean, we
performed.
have surfing has, I think, the best legends of any. I don't know the ins and outs of like golf legends or whatever, but it seems like you rarely hear heartwarming stories of Michael Jordan, sending somebody a basketball or something like that. The fact that
No.
PT went to his storage unit, dug out a mag, sent it to somebody for no cost, just out of the goodness of his heart. Yeah, so we got special folk here in the surf.
Big fan. And any interaction I've ever had with PT has been,
Oh, he's the best.
well, yeah, it's always been very much like in passing and like short and probably in like a party atmosphere or something. But absolutely has been fantastic. He's been
Yeah.
super, super cool, generous, kind, all of that.
I think those older ones somehow had thicker skin than like a Kelly Slater, for example. Right? Is like I saw Sean Thompson at the Waves. What is
We
it?
Are
Waves.
Ocean.
We Are Ocean event. And I'm sure I've made fun of Sean Thompson in the past. I made fun of everybody, but he just like looked over at me and gave me the little cheeky Chismith, like, and we get a fun little interaction then where it just feels like there's no, those guys don't feel like they took it as personally, and take the, I don't know, fun making and slinging and all that as part of the culture, whereas doesn't seem like everyone does that.
Well, speaking of the generosity of the community in surfing, anything to be said about We Are Ocean? Do you want to discuss that? I haven't even talked to you about it, but how'd that event go?
Yeah, fantastic. And it's Danny Kwok, and I think it's Bob Hurley is really involved too. But yeah, it's a fantastic organization. I think they take kids or people from cancer on adventures, basically, like out paddling and stuff like that. Yeah, the benefit was wonderful. And again, it's just that you realize, as curmudgeonly as I can be, go to an event like that, see Pat O'Connell, see, Bob, see Danny Kwok, Sean Thompson, just the list goes on, but they're all there for the benefit. They're all giving time, giving money, giving energy, and it's just I remember how special it can be.
Yeah, it's such a great event. You and I attended last year. I was not able to make it this year, and I've been meaning to ask. By the way, I'm so glad you remembered to go because we talked about it like a couple weeks in advance to confirm you were going, and then the date came and went, and I was like, I have not heard from Chaz at all. I hope that he showed up, and was glad to see the following day that you texted me and confirmed that you were there.
Would have been a big bummer. Yeah, like that would have been such a par for the course dropped ball, but almost one of those ones that would be almost inexcusable of like you're old enough not to do this kind of stupid stuff anymore. Not only did you put me out, not only did you put Danny out, like all on down the line, you like get it together.
Good. Well, I'm
It's
glad you made it, and I'm glad it went really well.
it's funny, Danny. It was the first time the wife had seen Danny Kwok in 20 odd years. Danny was working at Quicksilver 20 odd years ago, and wife sent him. Must have been longer than 20 years ago. What are we? Oh yeah, well longer than that. In 90, oh, it was the first time they'd seen each other in 20 years. But in 93, I think, the wife sent Danny Kwok the sponsor me letter, and she found a copy of it. And I texted Danny. It's real funny. What I would do for Quicksilver, what Quicksilver would do for me. I think she was asking for $250 a month to promote, and it worked. Danny signed her. Like,
Amazing. dude.
Yeah, rode for Danny for a while. I think she was the first Roxy Snow girl, I think. Yeah, a bunch of stuff. But yeah, it was great just to watch her and Danny reconnect. Was very funny.
That is so cool, dude. I'm
Yeah.
glad that worked out.
Yep.
All right. Well, on that positive note, let's go to commercial break, and then we will come back with Barrel or Nah, the first of which directly relates to PT. All right, Ches, welcome back.
Is the barrel or not going by your first initial and last initial?
No, but you know why I do that with him?
Why? Because I never know how to pronounce his last name.
Yes,
That's
I
me.
always.
Is it Townend or Townsend or Towned or Toned or what
To
is
me,
it?
to me, there's only two options: Townend or Townsend,
Yeah.
because PT from the Who is Townsend,
Yes.
but this PT is Townend, no S.
That's how it's spelled. How is it pronounced? And our caller fumbled over it, tried two different ways. Did you hear him subtly? He went Townend on the first one, and then Townend, I think he emphasized the D. But what is it, PT? That's why I call him PT too.
I think it's Townend.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I think.
Townend.
I think so.
Pete-
Peter Townend.
Peter Townend.
Now, here's the even more complicated part. Is I said it's Pete Townsend in the Who.
Yeah.
It's actually even more complicated. It's spelled town and then Shend. So it's Pete Townshend.
Pete Townshend. Yeah. How did those town last names get so minefieldy? Because I feel the same way about Pete. I think I'm just going to call every Pete Town variation just Townend. It's
Yeah,
easy, rolls off the tongue, no problem, done and dusted. Sorry, PT, if your last name is not Townend, it is now.
Yeah, it is PT Townend. I remember hearing, I don't know if I've heard him say it, but I've heard his peers call him Pete Townend.
Okay, it's good enough. If it's good enough for his peers, it's good enough for me.
But then Pete Townsend rolls off my tongue easier. But the
It's a
idea,
Townshend.
but the idea of Townshend is
Yeah,
a
too
bridge
much.
too far.
Yeah, too much.
So I think we stick with Pete Townend for the Australian surfer, and we
Townsend.
abandon Townshend, and start calling the Who musician Townsend.
Yeah, so we have Townsend and Townend. Townend and Townsend. Okay, I got it. Done. Easy. I can do that.
Okay, so the barrel or nah related to PT is committing to a color as an identity, because I'm sure you know his color is pink.
Yes.
He wears pink shoes, pink pants, pink shirt. I've never seen him not wearing pink. Pink sunglasses. In that image that I just showed from our listener line call, he's wearing a button-down shirt that is other colors, but the shirt underneath is pink.
Yep. I'm going to say barrel, but you've got to see it through to the bitter end. You cannot pull out. If you pull out at like 70 years old and you're like, I can't do this anymore, then you're done. Because let's examine some legends. We got Tom Wolfe, the author, in white, right? Tom Wolfe always wore a white suit. We have, I guess she's not a celebrity, but there was the costume designer of the New York City Ballet, only wore blue and dyed her hair blue till she died. She died in blue, right? Yeah, PT in pink. I'm going to say barrel, but do not enter into this lightly. If you go 10 years of a color, I have a buddy, and this is not nearly as signature-y, but it was, right? Wore only black on black on black, and did it for 12 years. And he's got to look back on those 12 years and think, man, I did this black on like, and you're going to go through awkward, right? It'd be super awkward as late 40 to be black on black guy. But you come out the end, you're Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash is black on black on black. As long as you see it through, but do not undertake it lightly.
Yeah. So the problem for me with black is that too many people have utilized it. Like Steve Jobs, black turtleneck, which then Elizabeth Holmes borrowed the exact look with. The goth community has borrowed that. Like, that's too much.
Yeah.
Picking pink is a bold choice.
I mean, but it's a great one. And he clearly seems like he's seeing it through though.
Absolutely, he's seeing it through. By the way, and it didn't start recently. Like back in the 70s, his surfboards were pink. Like he's
Yeah.
been doing this for literally 50 years.
No, and so it's going to be great. Not that I'm looking forward to PT's death, but when PT goes, everybody knows already how to memorialize him, right? There's going to be pink "Live Like PT" stickers. There's going to be, pink flags flying. The bummer, I guess, the other thing you got to be a little bit careful about when identifying with the color is if that color comes to be identified with something else that you are not so happy with.
Which is why this is where the whole podcast started. Your red hat.
Exactly. But I'm reclaiming the red hat. I don't think that the MAGA movement, A, didn't last long enough, B, was not powerful enough to get an article of clothing forever associated with them. They get a red MAGA hat associated with them, but not a red hat, full stop.
Yeah, they do. If somebody saw you from behind, they're going to presume that's MAGA.
See, that's the beauty, though, is that's how you take the power back, is because they'll presume it's MAGA. I turn around, they look, it says, oh, his hat says, "I hate surfing." I thought it was MAGA. They do enough of that. There's enough, oh, I'm seeing a red hat. Oh, it's not a MAGA hat. Eventually you stop assuming that a red hat is MAGA.
I saw an image of Bruce Irons on Instagram the other day, and I had to zoom in to his hat because it was a red hat with white text on it.
What
and I
was
was
it?
like, it wasn't MAGA.
See? But
But it was like, it was a MAGA joke though. It was like, make something great again. So it was like the
Yeah.
same text and everything. But I was like, whoa, Bruce Irons really coming out of the closet here. And then it was just a joke hat. So,
the joke, that's what I'm saying. That's how the power is going to get taken back right there. Joke hats.
all right. So if you had a color, or can you think of a color that you like enough that you would brand yourself with?
If you would have asked me a while back, it might have been pink, but I was smart enough. I had some pink items, I would throw, I had some pink, and I thought, this is bold, right? I felt like I was being bold as a man choosing pink. I'm glad because I don't have the fortitude that dear PT does.
Yeah.
What about you?
I definitely do not have a association with a color or like a fondness for a color that I think that I would want to brand myself with, but black and white both work for me. And so I notice that I just tend to wear a lot of black and white.
Sure. I mean, a white t-shirt. Yeah.
Simple.
Easy.
It's
Yeah.
easy. Yeah. But I would like it to, it's the opposite of trying to brand myself as black and white. It's trying to keep anonymous,
Unbrand.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Moving on. Barrel or Nah comes from a listener call.
All right, this message is for the grit. This is a barrel or nah with a question. I was just thinking about giving boards away, whether you're in on a surf trip, at the end of a surf trip, something like that in a different country, or even just because you have to move to a different place, and it can be difficult to move a bunch of boards, a quiver. So maybe you just give it away or sell it at a cheap price. And I'm just thinking how big of a barrel that is. I mean, to me, it's like a pipeline, Tiahopu barrel, something like that. And I'm just thinking, can we start ranking these barrels too? And I was sort of thinking about this recently. I want to know if you guys have seen the movie Single Fin Yellow, about how they sort of ship this board, this longboard around the world, and different people wrote it. And that was just such an amazing movie about sharing the stoke of surfing. I know Chaz is sort of getting his legs back into longboarding. I just wondered if you guys had seen that film and what you guys think about it. I just thought it was such a great film that reminded me I had to move and give a bunch of boards away that I was sad about, and just thinking about the stoke it might be bringing to other people. It's helped me deal with it a little bit. So if anyone else out there has gone through having to get rid of boards that you love, it can be tough. So, all right, just a question for you guys. Have a great day.
It's tough that I'm getting branded by getting into longboarding a little bit. I haven't started my longboard journey whatsoever yet. Thank you very much. Not that I won't be on it, but I haven't started it yet.
I think we've discussed this over the years in various ways. I hate selling surfboards. I don't like getting rid of surfboards in general. I think it's a bad idea. But giving away surfboards, major barrel.
Yeah, exactly. If you sell it, I mean, he offered in. I was nodding along, thinking, yes, of course, giving away surfboards is barrel. Then he said, or sell it for a very low price. I'm like, nope, that cancels that barrel. If you're getting any money for that transaction, I'm even going to say, I'm going to go far as to say, David Lee Scales, if you put your surfboard on Facebook Marketplace and say free board, but you got to pay for shipping to the person, I don't even know that that's going to count as a barrel.
I agree. Trade all you want. If you find somebody on there and you could trade, go for that.
Or just give it away. Just say, hey, this board, I got to give this board away. You can come. I'm not going to ship it because I can't, I'm not going to pay for shipping. But if you're around, come pick it up if you're going to love it.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if it's like if you're giving it to somebody underprivileged or somebody who can't afford the board or somebody who doesn't have access, like if you're in Central America, let's say, and the crew that you're with down there, the local surf guide is riding a yellowed beater and they don't have access to all the boards we have access to in Southern California, and you could leave one behind, that is a major barrel.
Absolutely.
It's actually a better use of the board than you riding it.
Precisely. Yeah. That's a major barrel. But again, important to have the distinction. If any money exchanges hands for a surfboard, it is no barrel.
Absolutely.
Even the smallest amount of money.
And this, by the way, isn't even like, this isn't just limited to privileged versus underprivileged, privileged gifting to underprivileged. I think this could apply to the Vaer Tools to Live By call from earlier, where should I recommend to my Val friends what board to ride? Even better, maybe you have a board that they could use and just be like, here, ride this for a while and let them keep it.
Especially if that board is a small, old potato chip, preferably made from epoxy with glass on fins.
Exactly. Well, barrel, we both agree. No more to be said on that. Go hard and heavy. Final barrel or nah, circling back to a conversation you and I had earlier in the week that I promised we would revisit. Fasting.
How is it? I forgot. That's how well you pulled off fasting, is I totally forgot you were fasting.
Major barrel, dude.
And so you came out. Have you eaten yet?
Last night I ate my first meal. So I did it was supposed to be 3 days. So 72-hour fast. I made it 70 hours. So I cheated the last 2 hours.
But still.
I got pretty fatigued. Like the last 5 hours, I was like, all right, this is kind of torture. And it might just be because the finish line was right there, You
knew.
Yeah, that might have been it. But also I did some physical activity in the middle of the day yesterday. So I was pretty fatigued and like my brain wasn't quite functioning right. And I was like, you know what? I have chicken soup ready to go for 7:00. I'm going to eat it at 5:00 instead. So I broke the fast last night, but major barrel for anybody who is considering it or interested in it, just Google it, research it. There's medical advice. There's medically known benefits for it. So research it on your own. There's like these phases that your body goes through that I won't try to re-explain here, but look it up. But for me, it was not nearly as hard as I thought it would be. I slept great. I was pretty energized throughout it. I was doing 3-mile runs each day, despite not having eaten anything. And then today, coming out of it, like last night, ate chicken noodle soup for dinner, slept great. And then this morning went for a 3-mile run again, felt stronger than I felt in a long time and still do. Like very mental clarity and focus, feel great, feel strong, had benefits during the fast and have a lot of benefits on the day after.
So a small bowl, I'm assuming, of chicken soup on the way out or to break the fast. Did you have another small meal after that? What did you have for small breakfast this morning?
So I started with, let's say, an 8 to 10 ounce bowl of chicken noodle soup. Most people recommended just doing chicken broth, but I was like, I'm gonna go for it. So I just did chicken noodle soup, homemade. I made it myself like a couple days prior. I did about 8 to 10 ounces and waited 2 or 3 hours, and it didn't hurt me in any way. Like, you're worried that you're gonna have stomach cramping or something like that related to what you eat. I had none of that, so I ate another bowl afterwards. So 2 bowls of chicken soup, maybe 20 ounces max, and then had a little cup of yogurt right afterwards, like as a dessert, basically. This morning, went for that run, felt great, did some work, cleaned up around the house, and then at noonish, right before noon, I ate my standard breakfast that I told you last week. Soft boiled eggs, avocado, cream, cottage cheese, and I feel great.
So when is your next fast?
I'm going to do them quarterly, I think.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll join you on the next one.
Give it a shot. I mean, again, look up the benefits. Like, you'll see it spelled out in kind of scientific terms, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure.
The general idea, I mean, how many times have you eaten your normal throughout the course of the day, at night, maybe dessert, whatever? How many times have you woken up in the morning and you feel sluggish or still tired?
Many times.
All the time, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening is your body works hard at digestion. You know, alcohol intake, obviously, if you're eating dessert after dinner, it's working hard. Even while you're sleeping, when you should be getting rest, it's working hard at digestion. If you don't have to utilize that energy for that thing, all of a sudden your body's freed up and it starts repairing itself. It goes through all these things. But it was like, I just felt lighter, leaner, stronger during the fast somehow than I did when I'm constantly putting fuel in my body. And so you get this, I think in addition, what happens mentally is you realize how little food you can actually operate on. So now henceforth, it's kind of like, I don't want to weigh myself down with all this bull crap. Like, I can just eat a very light meal and I kind of feel better.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Are you now, though? We talk about slippery slopes a lot on this program. Are you on the wellness slippery slope? Am I going to be talking to you next time from a silent retreat somewhere where I'll be talking and you'll just be sitting there? How far does this go?
It's a possibility that, yes, I might be slipping.
Yeah, because that's what, again, with the slippery slope, you come out of a 3-day fast feeling great. What if I throw in a sound bath on top of that? I've heard sound baths are phenomenal. What if I throw in a yoga meditation weekend? Just a weekend. All of a sudden, you're wellnessed out, man.
I'll tell you what, for entertainment purposes, for whatever wacky thing I do, feel free to ask me any question about it here. And we can analyze the pros and cons.
Great. We will not talk about a certain sport played with a club and a ball, but we will talk about wellness.
Correct. The other thing that I will say is one of your favorite things when we state the date at the top of the show is to be like, man, time is flying. Can you believe how fast time flies? Let me tell you how to slow down time.
Yeah.
Stop eating.
I mean, totally.
Those were the longest 3 days of my life.
Anytime I feel that you have some kind of self-control where it's something you actually have to control yourself from, either drinking or whatever it may be, anything, right? Now you're actively in a war with this thing and the hours just go by slowly.
It was crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to go to bed now because I got nothing else to do. I'm bored. Yeah. It was also boring as could be. Like 5 o'clock, whatever in the afternoon when I'm like, oh, okay, now it's time to kind of check out. Maybe I can have a drink. Maybe I could eat some food. It was like, nope, not doing that. And you still got 5 hours to be awake and do nothing.
I've realized my adult life is I treat myself like a little dog where I set treats out there for myself to go get, right? You make it to 5 p.m. and you get a cocktail, go get it. Just make it. Yeah, but it's the entire day is based on the promise of treats at some point.
I told Lauren midway through the fast, I go, I think I am an emotional eater. Like I have, it's funny to say as somebody who weighs, less than 180 pounds, but I was like, I'm like a drug addict with food where I use it. I definitely do it addictively, and then I also use it as a reward system.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it's not like fast food or donuts or whatever, but it still is food, and it is an overconsumption of food.
Sure. No. And it's also using it as perpetual treat. Always, guess what David Lee deserves? He deserves a treat. David Lee did some work today. Treat time. The treat is like when you're not in a period of self-control, the treat is never off the table. The treat, there's at least 1 to 4 treats a day that are given.
Absolutely.
You to yourself. Yeah.
And what you learn is those add up quick.
Those add up quick, but also you take those away from your life, and now you're thinking, I got to get from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on the anvil. There's no ups or downs. It's just a plane of nothing. No treats for me.
So the 3 days is manageable. Like
Yeah.
if you had to commit to doing something disciplined, 3 days is actually a very little amount of time. And that's why I feel like I could probably do it quarterly.
Well, great. I'm joining you. I'm going to join up. I'm going to cut treats.
Whenever you're ready, don't wait for me 1 quarter from now. Maybe you do yours and then we can do it together in the following quarter.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, good show. Major, like I said, gargantuan show. We're past the 90-minute mark, and I will be back to do it again Monday or Tuesday of next week.
Monday or Tuesday. See you then, David Lee Scales.
Cannot wait.
Keep working.